Grief, a heavy cloak we wear after loss. It descends upon us, unexpected and unwelcome. Like a thief in the night, it steals our joy, leaving behind a void that aches with every breath. We search for a map, a compass, anything to guide us through this unfamiliar wilderness. We've all heard of the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. These stages, neatly packaged, promise a linear path through our pain. But grief, my friends, is anything but linear. It's a labyrinth of emotions, twisting and turning, often leading us back to where we started. They provide a framework, a language to understand the complex tapestry of our grief. Our journey through grief is uniquely our own, shaped by the depth of our loss, the support we receive, and our own inner resilience. Healing is not a destination but a journey, one that leads us to a place of profound growth and unexpected beauty. Imagine grief as a vast, uncharted ocean. The 5 stages are like islands scattered across this expanse. We may visit each island, but the order, the duration of our stay, even the islands we choose to visit will vary. Some of us may linger on the shores of denial, clinging to the belief that our loved one will return. Others may find themselves swept away by the raging currents of anger, lashing out at the unfairness of it all. There are no right or wrong ways to navigate this ocean. What matters is that we allow ourselves to feel the full spectrum of our emotions, without judgment or shame. It's in the depths of our despair that we discover the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity to love and lose and love again. Let's delve into the 5 stages, not as rigid compartments, but as fluid states of being that we may encounter on our grief journey. Remember, these stages are not meant to define us, but to guide us towards a deeper understanding of ourselves and our grief. Denial, the first stage, can be a life raft in the initial shock of loss. It's a defense mechanism, a way to protect ourselves from the overwhelming pain of reality. Anger, the fiery storm within, often arises when denial starts to fade. We rage against the injustice, the senselessness of our loss. Bargaining, the stage of what-ifs and if-onlys, is our attempt to regain control, to rewrite the narrative of our loss. Depression, the heavy cloak of sadness, envelops us as the reality of our loss settles in. It's a time for deep reflection, for processing the magnitude of what we've lost. Finally, acceptance. It's about learning to live with the pain, to carry our grief with grace and resilience. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. Imagine Emily, who has just lost her husband of 50 years. In the immediate aftermath of his passing, she finds herself setting an extra place at the dinner table, her mind refusing to accept his absence. She catches herself picking up the phone to call him, only to be jolted back to reality by the silence on the other end. Denial, in this context, is not a sign of delusion, but a coping mechanism. It's Emily's way of shielding herself from the full impact of her grief, allowing her to process her loss at her own pace. For some, denial might manifest as a sense of numbness, a detachment from reality. There's no right or wrong way to experience denial, as long as it serves its purpose, to protect us from being overwhelmed by the initial shock of loss. As the initial shock subsides, the protective veil will gradually lift, allowing us to confront the reality of our loss. Section 5. Anger, the fiery storm within. Anger, a raw and powerful emotion, often emerges as denial begins to fade. It's like a wildfire, fueled by the pain of our loss, consuming everything in its path. We may find ourselves lashing out at loved ones, strangers, even the universe itself. Think of John, who recently lost his teenage daughter in a car accident. He's furious at the driver of the other car, at the doctors who couldn't save his daughter, even at God for allowing such a tragedy to happen. His anger is palpable, a tangible expression of his unbearable pain. Anger in this context is not inherently negative. It's a natural response to loss, a way of expressing the rawness of our emotions. However, it's equally important to express our anger in healthy ways. Bottling it up will only lead to resentment and bitterness. Remember, anger is a wave. We can choose to ride it out, allowing its energy to propel us forward on our grief journey. Section 6. Bargaining, seeking a way out. Bargaining, the stage of what-ifs and if-onlys, often emerges as anger begins to subside. It's our attempt to regain a sense of control in a situation that feels utterly beyond our grasp. We try to strike a deal with fate, with a higher power, even with ourselves, hoping to undo the pain of our loss. Consider Sarah, who lost her mother to cancer. She finds herself bargaining with God, promising to live a more virtuous life if only He would bring her mother back. She replays past conversations in her mind, wishing she had said "I love you" more often, believing that somehow this might change the course of events. Bargaining is a natural human response to grief, a way of coping with the unbearable finality of death. While bargaining may provide temporary solace, it's important to recognize that it's a futile endeavor. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, let's focus on what is. Section 7. Depression, the weight of sorrow. Depression, the heavy cloak of sadness, often settles in as the reality of our loss becomes undeniable. It's a time of profound sorrow, a period of deep reflection and introspection. We may feel a sense of emptiness, a loss of motivation and interest in things we once enjoyed. Imagine David, who recently lost his best friend in a hiking accident. He finds himself withdrawing from social gatherings, isolating himself in his grief. The world seems dull and colorless, devoid of the joy they once shared. Depression, in the context of grief, is not a sign of weakness. It's a natural response to loss, a testament to the depth of our love and the profound impact our loved one had on our lives. It's important to allow ourselves to feel this sadness, to acknowledge the depth of our pain without judgment. However, if depression lingers for an extended period and begins to interfere with our daily functioning, it's crucial to seek professional help. Remember, you are not alone in your grief. Section 8. Acceptance, embracing the new reality. Acceptance, the final stage of grief, is often misunderstood as a passive resignation to loss. However, it's far from a passive state. It's an active embrace of our new reality, a conscious choice to integrate our grief into the fabric of our lives. Think of Maria, who lost her son to a long battle with illness. She still feels the pangs of sadness, the void left by his absence. Yet she's learned to carry her grief with grace, honoring his memory by continuing to live a life filled with purpose and meaning. Acceptance is not a destination but a journey, one that requires patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace the full spectrum of our emotions. Section 9. Resilience, rising from the ashes. Resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity, is not something we're born with. It's a muscle we develop through facing life's challenges, including the profound pain of grief. It's about finding the strength to rise from the ashes of our loss, transformed but not broken. Think of a forest fire. While initially destructive, it creates space for new growth, for a more vibrant and resilient ecosystem to emerge. Similarly, grief, while incredibly painful, can be a catalyst for profound personal growth. It can teach us to appreciate the fragility of life, to cherish our loved ones more deeply, and to live with a greater sense of purpose. Section 10. Growth, finding meaning in the midst of loss. Growth, in the context of grief, is not about replacing our loss or minimizing its significance. It's about finding meaning in the midst of our pain, discovering new perspectives, and emerging from the experience transformed. Imagine a seed planted in the ground. It needs darkness, pressure, and even death to sprout and grow into a beautiful flower. Similarly, grief, while incredibly painful, can be the fertile ground from which new growth emerges. We may discover hidden strengths we never knew we possessed, a newfound appreciation for life, or a deeper connection to our spirituality. Growth after loss is not linear or predictable. There will be days when grief feels all-consuming and days when we feel glimmers of hope and joy. It's okay to grieve and to grow simultaneously. Section 11. Conclusion. A journey of healing and hope. Grief is not a journey with a final destination. It's a continuous process of learning to live with loss, of integrating our pain into the fabric of our lives and emerging from the experience transformed. It's about honoring our loved ones by living our lives to the fullest, embracing the present moment with gratitude and love. Remember, you are not alone in your grief. Reach out to loved ones, support groups, or mental health professionals. Allow yourself to be held, supported, and guided through the darkness. Healing takes time. For even in the depths of our sorrow, there's always hope for a brighter tomorrow.